Popular book influencer has left her job at Waterstones after a Twitter row with an author over their difference of opinions over transgender issues. You may, if you are into your books, into the book community, you've heard of Tilly Fitzgerald, who's also better known as TillyLovesBooks, a huge following on Twitter and Instagram. And she, reviews books and shares and, reviews and gets back to people with advice on things. But look, we know what Twitter's like, and particularly on Twitter, and it's very hard to get involved in rows or debates on very tricky issues such as transgender issues and women's rights. An author called Christina, she posted a tweet talking about this new publishing network for authors who wanted to safeguard women's rights. And Tilly replied saying, "Ooh, I'd enjoy tearing up your books up and popping them in the bin today. Thanks for the heads up." Now, it's not clear exactly what happened next. What we do know is that she has left her job at Waterstones. We don't know if she's been fired or been asked to leave. There are people pointing fingers at Christina about her being to blame for this. She's been very clear on social media, on Twitter, about what she has and hasn't done. She said, "Are you talking about your books or Waterstones books?" It's not clear. But this conversation isn't limited just to the two of them. There are people on both sides very passionately getting involved, and whether Waterstones was tagged in it or not is not clear. Though what we do know, a few days ago, Tilly posted this video on Twitter, a very tearful video explaining what happened to her.
I told her on Twitter that I was going to throw away her books after I found out that she was a bigot and just tried to get lots of other people in the publishing industry fired purely for standing up for trans rights. And she tagged Waterstones, and they have decided to fire me for my social media usage. It's the first mistake I've ever made. I've been nothing but an exemplary employee there. I thought twice about whether to post this because I didn't know whether to appeal, but I don't even know if I want to work for a company that works like that, to be honest, that have no morals, and that are more worried about their reputation being stung by the maybe 10,000 followers that she has in total, and poor sales, I imagine, because most people don't know who I'm talking about. They're more worried about that than somebody who has sold so many books for them and who so many customers have said nothing but good things about. And I'm devastated.
I mean, so a very tearful Tilly there, devastated obviously to have caused this furore and to have lost her job as well. Now, publicly, Waterstones have said the following: "We have received some messages about an employee who has been dismissed. This was on the grounds of contravening Waterstones policies and has nothing to do with transgender rights." And the press office as well from Waterstones have said, "We are an inclusive employer following due process in all HR matters. For obvious reasons, we are unable to comment on individual cases." So she obviously was dismissed from there. So we do know that. And I suppose devastated as I do feel for Tilly for having lost a job that she clearly loves and she clearly has a huge following for as well. I do think that this sort of case kind of highlights the fact that if you have a public persona, a public platform with a significant following as she does, and you're being paid by a bigger organisation, someone else, to actually present your views or the company's views on books, in this case, then you have a duty to not be too controversial in a way, or to not put your very, very personal, controversial view forward in such a way. I think it would have been okay for her to have said something. I think it's just the language she used as well, which is always, kind of even more confusing when you think this is someone who's clearly kind of like a literary specialist as well. But to say, it was quite narky and sarcastic, like, "Oh, well, I enjoy tearing up your books." And it's just a bit like misjudged, I think, by Tilly. I think she probably would accept that as well. She's made a mistake. It's just the response to that mistake, which she feels has been a bit heavy-handed. First of all, in losing her job, and presumably as well in some of the responses that she's had from other people. I mean, she declined an interview with us, but she did say, "I'm insanely grateful for the support I've received from people in the book community who know me best." And I suppose here's hoping that she may still carry on doing this job that she loves, but in a different capacity, perhaps in a personal capacity, especially since, whether she likes it or not, she's already got a significant following, and presumably after this she might even have gained a lot more, because that's the nature of social media, right? If there's something controversial, it gets more traction as well. So maybe she can carry on in a different capacity.
Yeah, I think it's tricky because it's being fueled by supporters of both individuals. There are authors coming out publishing open letters to Waterstones asking or campaigning, lobbying for her to get a job back, and there are supporters of Christina who are talking about it. Christina's been very clear. She kind of said there is no win in this game, but I didn't start this game. She's not gloating or anything like that at all. Tilly, I think, is now keeping a lower profile on things, which is probably the right thing to do. But it is so difficult. We used to see a few years ago when in bios saying these are not the views of my employer, but that doesn't really work on social media. And obviously, she appears to have violated some sort of Waterstones policy. We don't know what. It could be about not bringing the company into disrepute. We don't know. But it is, as you said, very difficult. And I think sometimes when you have such high profile, you're scrutinised even more. And it is really hard. None of us have any training or warning about these things. We can get carried away with these things. But we hope the best for Tilly and with Christina as well. And, hope that we can move on from this.
Yeah.